Alright guys, what's going on? It's Solomon here. Today we'll be going over functions in Python. Now for those of you who haven't watched my previous tutorials in this series, I suggest you check them out. So functions are basically a set of instructions that are packaged together to actually perform specific tasks, or we can more accurately see that a function is a group of statements that exist within a program to for the purpose of performing specific tasks. So for instance, if we were to be working on a maybe larger project, something like artificial intelligence, or maybe just a chatbot, or maybe just a web application, we are just going to be, we won't just write 1,000 line of codes. We are just going to be breaking our codes down into you know into smaller parts. So instead of writing one large set of statements, we can actually break down a program into several small functions, allowing us to actually divide and conquer programming problems. So these smaller pieces perform differently in your code. Let's say one for actually if you are building something like maybe facial recognition software, or maybe an artificial intelligence. One would just be for voice recognition, and another one is just maybe probably checking the weather, or one for updating time and speech recognition, and so on and so forth. So these statements, they actually help us, so we don't actually have to always repeat ourselves in codes. So, and one thing you should actually note in writing a function is that you can actually use Python keywords. And Python keywords, they are just the keywords in Python that actually Python use, something like class. So these are keyword, class, if, elif, and so on. So you have to check them out. There are some keywords that you can actually use as variable names, and you can also use as function names. And one thing you should know, that you can actually use space when writing a function. So if your function just consists of hello world, you can actually space them. So what you can actually do is to use an underscore to separate them. So you can actually use space. And lastly, you can't use a number. You can actually use a number to start a function, and you can actually use a letter and then you can add a number to it. So those are just a few rules that you have to know when working with function. And another thing is that function must be defined before usage. So let's start creating a function name. I'm going to start and creating a function. So to create a function is pretty simple. You just have to say def, which I think it stands for definition. And so this, then you are just going to be placing your function name. You can call it anything you want. So I'm just gonna call mine hello. So if it's hello world, like I say, you can't space them. You could just use underscore. And another thing you should know, that you can use underscore to start a function name. You can just call it hello. So you can use underscore to start a function name, but now I'm just going to be using the uppercase hello, and then after that you just have to use this parenthesis after your function name, and then colon, and just click enter. So now that we have actually created the function, this function is just going to be useless without a bunch of instructions for it to carry out. So but since we don't have any instruction to carry out for the moment, we just have to leave it. If we were to run this, it's just going to print an error. It's just going to print an error. You are seeing a syntax error. So what we have to do is we have to use pass. So this can actually help so that Python would not print it out as an error. So now that we got our function, I know that since the beginning of this tutorial, most of you have come across so many functions like the print. This is a function, print statement, square. We have len function, which stands for length. And so now that you have actually done this, you have created your own function. So to run this, we are not just going to run it the old-fashioned way, that we just do print the function. Let's try and run this and actually see. So when we did this, what it actually says is function hello is at certain location in memory. So this is not actually what we want. So for to delete it, we are just going to be calling the function. So this is what it said, call. So just run this, and you can actually see that I did run, but it didn't pass anything in here. The reason for this is we have not yet passed any instruction to this function. So it's just going to print pass. So let's say we have of instruction. Let's just tell it that okay, we want our function to just print out hello world, and we will run this. So you can actually see that our function has probably printed out the hello world. So one thing, another thing is that we can actually use the upper and lower case. But before I get here, so if we actually let's say we just want to execute our function and let it be equal to our return value, then we are just going to be using the return instead of the print. So let me explain that better. So we have our function, and the function is equal to this. So the only way we can actually use our function is if we actually call it directly. So we just have to, it's just going to print out this in it's just going to print out what we actually did. But if we want actually, maybe we want to execute our function and make it be equal to our return value, we can actually use a return statement. We just say something like return. We're just going to tell it that it should actually return this. So now we're just, instead of calling, if we were to call this manually, and the is evaluating to nothing, but now we're just going to print this out. Just going to print this out. We're just saying okay, sorry, print hello. Make sure you delete the parentheses. Sorry, make sure you use the parentheses there, since you're actually calling this. But if you delete the parentheses, it's just going to give you the hello at certain location in memory. So that's that. And another thing is we can actually use our as I said, the upper and lower case with our function. Now we're just going to be needing the parentheses. We're just going to see dot upper, and if we were to run this, it's just going to give us this. And if we were to change this to back to dot lower, it's just going to give us this. So you can actually use the lower upper and lower function with this. And like I said, function actually allows us to reuse our codes throughout our program without the need to repeat ourselves. Let's say we have this. Okay, let me remove this. Let me remove this. And okay, let me just print this out. Sorry for that. Okay, let's say we have this function. We have print hello world. Okay, print hello world. We have print hello world, and we have this in maybe certain numbers of time in our program. Let me paste it about 5 times. So if we were to run this, we're actually getting hello. Just remember that this function is not being used here. This is just we are just using just the print statement. So we have this hello world that we actually printed 1 2 3 4 5. So, and let's say we're writing a big code and we probably made a mistake, and we have this like maybe 50 to 70 or 100 times in our code, and we just remember we actually made a mistake, that okay, we need an exclamation mark right here. So what you probably want to do is you just go to each line of code and just add the exclamation mark. You just add the exclamation mark there, and if you actually run this, it's just going to give you the exclamation mark. But you can actually see that we actually spent about maybe 5 to 6 seconds actually doing this, or probably 10. So imagine about 50 line of codes, and they will be scattered all over the program, so it will be very very difficult to locate. So what you can actually do is you can actually come to your function here and add the exclamation mark, and what you do, instead of print, you just call your function. Let me copy this. If we copy this, so about, okay, 5 is okay, and we'll run this. It's just going to give us the exclamation mark without having to walk through. So now, okay, we imagine that, okay, the exclamation mark is actually wrong. We need a full stop. So we just have to put it there instead of coming to our code, and you can actually see that it automatically changed everywhere in that code. So that is our one of the main advantage of using a function. So you can one thing you should know that you can actually create multiple functions and then call them as many times as you want to. So let's try and let's create a multiple function. For instance, let me get rid of this. That's okay. Let me just get rid of this. So we have this function called hello, right? And we have it to print hello world. So let's create another function. I'm just gonna call this function is just gonna be hi, and I'm just gonna, okay, sorry, I'm just gonna print out what's up. Okay, what's going on? Sorry. Okay, yes, let's just skip this. Okay, what's going on? And so now that we have our function, let's just go ahead and print this. So we just have to say hello and hi. So you can actually see that I did printed out multiple functions. So how do we call a function inside a function? So let's just say we have a function called, okay, just gonna create this function called main, right? Okay, let me just call this main, and in this main we have just, okay, print out. We wanted it to print out something, maybe okay, I have a message for you. I have a message for you, and then I'm just gonna, okay, call the message. So now we don't have that message function, so I'm just gonna create another function. I'm just gonna call this message. I'm just gonna call this message. I'm gonna make the explanation after I finish typing this. So I'm just gonna print out this. This is me. Okay, let me just put something. This is it. I'm just gonna add a full stop. So if we're to just print main, okay, sorry, if we're to just print main, can just see that we just have, I have a message for you. But remember I said, how can we actually call a function within the function? So I can easily come down here, just say something like, okay, and just say something like a message. Just call the function message. You might remember that I'm adding this function that I created here down here, and I'm just gonna print out this. Just gonna say okay. Now let's run this. So you see that I did printed out the main function that we wrote. I have a message for you, and this is it, which is the message that we actually created, the function that we actually created here. It contains these parameters, so this is it. So we added it, and we now told it to print okay. So that's how you can actually call a function within a function. I know that it's pretty maybe scattered or something. You can actually move it here so that it will be much more understandable. So that's how you actually call a function within a function. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer your questions. And do not forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe you find it uh, informative and educative. You can actually try to share it with others. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye.